e5 controls the d4 and f4 squares, and allows the queen and dark-squared bishop to develop. Knight c3 attacks the d5 square and starts the fight for the e4 square. Knight c6 supports the e5 pawn and controls the d4 square. Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the e5 pawn, and controls the d4 square. g6 prepares to fianchetto the dark-squared bishop to g7, where it will sit on the long diagonal. d4 gains space in the center, attacks the e5 pawn, and allows the dark-squared bishop to develop. E takes d4, captures the pawn, attacks the knight, and opens the a1 h8 diagonal. Knight takes d4, recaptures the pawn, and centralizes the knight, offering a minor piece exchange. This develops a piece while also winning a tempo on a knight. This forces the opponent to double pawns. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Recaptures. Good job bringing your bishop out early to build a solid position. This blocks the check from an opposing bishop. This prepares the bishop for development. The bishop is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. This steps away from the checking rook. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This threatens to force isolated doubled pawns. This is the only good move. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. This is the only move that works. This steps away from the checking bishop. This is the strongest option. This kicks a bishop. This moves the bishop to safety. This misses an opportunity to force isolated doubled pawns. This allows the opponent to kick a knight. This is the only move that works. The knight is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This moves the knight to safety. There was only one good move there, and white did not spend enough time trying to find it. This is the only move that works. This prevents the opponent from being able to kick a knight. White's bishop has moved to a square with greater activity and control. This blocks the attack on a pawn that could have been captured. Right on target. Very precise. This connects the rooks, which helps them work together. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This is an equal trade. Takes back. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This is not the right idea. This is the strongest option. The rooks can see each other now, allowing them to provide mutual defense. There were worse moves, but also something much better. Right on target. This fights against the other rook for the open file. The piece finds a new active square. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. This misses a better way to recapture a piece. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Recaptures. This is not the right idea. This allows the knight to control more squares. A solid choice. One of the best moves. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This is a fair move. That's fine. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This is not the right idea. This is the only good move. The bishop finds a new active square. This is the only move that works. A very strong play. This allows the opponent to force a weak, isolated pawn. That was a strong discovery, and black will win a pawn. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Takes back. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Very precise. Putting the piece on a blockade square. This overlooks a better way to defend a pawn that was under attack. This misses a better way to move a rook to safety. There were worse moves, but also something much better. There was only one good move there, and black did not spend enough time trying to find it. Only one move worked there, and this wasn't it. This is the only move that works. The pawn is now passed because it can no longer be challenged by pawns as it tries to promote. This is the strongest option. This overlooks a better way to evade the check from the opposing rook. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. White's pieces move to a square with greater activity and control. Right on target. This steps away from the checking pawn. This takes an outpost, a square where the knight cannot be kicked out by a pawn. This makes a passed pawn. This is the way to win a rook. A solid choice. This captures a pawn that checked the king. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. This puts the rook behind the other player's passed pawn. This threatens to win material by checking the king away from its defense. This prevents the opponent from being able to win material by checking the king away from its defense. This evades the check from the knight. This reveals a check. This evades the check from the rook. This kicks a knight. Very precise. This steps away from the checking rook. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. This blocks White's pawn. This move puts the knight on a safer square. This is the only good move. This moves the rook to safety. This steps away from the checking rook. This wins a knight. This removes a pawn that put the king in check. This is the strongest option. The Sicilian defense controls the d4 square with c-pawn. c3 prepares for a quick d2, d4 pawn break, hoping to recapture on d4 with a pawn rather than a piece. Knight f6 develops the knight, controls the d5 square, and attacks the undefended e4 pawn. e5 takes space in the center and immediately attacks the knight on f6. Knight d5 relocates the attacked knight to the center. Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center, supports the e5 pawn, and controls the d4 square. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. Developing the bishop and increasing influence in the center. Developing the knight and increasing influence in the center. Castling kingside tends to be safer than queenside because the king is further from the center. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This protects an underdefended pawn that is under attack. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. The bishop moves forward into the game. Solid choice in the opening. Good job bringing your queen out early to build a solid position. Castling to the same side of the board is a more cautious approach. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. This forces the opponent to isolate a pawn. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This is an equal trade. Takes back. One more piece joins the action. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. The game was close to equal, but now White has the advantage. Advancing the pawns in front of the king can compromise the king's safety. This missed an opportunity to punish a mistake. This is the strongest option. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This threatens to win a bishop through a discovered attack. This loses material. This wins material. White combines recapturing with the development of a new piece. This misses an opportunity to win material through a discovered attack. This threatens to eventually win material. This prevents the opponent from being able to eventually win material. This challenges the other rook for control of the open file. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Takes back. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. Black activates the last piece, bringing all pieces into play. Very precise. This offers an equal trade of pieces. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This threatens to tactically win a bishop. This prevents the opponent from being able to tactically win a bishop. The pawn is now passed because it can no longer be challenged by pawns as it tries to promote. This overlooks an opportunity to tactically win a rook. One of the best moves. This threatens to win material through a tactic. This prevents the opponent from being able to win material through a tactic. Now white can't stop black from winning a pawn if they make the right moves. This leads to losing a bishop. This is the way to win a bishop. This threatens to take an outpost with a bishop. This captures a free bishop. Recaptures. This move puts the queen on a safer square. This overlooks a better way to evade the check from the opposing queen. This misses an opportunity to eventually win a queen. This is the only good move. This moves the queen to safety. This permits the opponent to eventually win a queen. That's fine. Takes back. This promotes a pawn to a queen. This evades the check from the queen. Very precise. This removes a rook that put the king in check. Recaptures. This evades the check from the queen. A very strong play. The pawn is now passed because it can no longer be challenged by pawns as it tries to promote. This moves the queen to safety. This evades the check from the queen. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen. A solid choice. This steps away from the checking queen. This is the strongest option. This steps away from the checking queen. Very precise. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This wins a rook. This steps away from the checking queen. White finds a nice tactic with just seconds to spare, winning a rook.